The conference room fell silent as my CEO's question hung in the air. Are you single, James? 20 pairs of eyes turned to me, and in that moment, I had a choice: tell a comfortable lie or the devastating truth that would change everything between us. If you've ever had to choose between your privacy and your integrity in front of someone with power over your career, stay with me. This story might just help you navigate your own impossible moment. If this resonates with you so far, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more real-life stories that explore the complicated dynamics we all face. I never expected to find myself in such a position at Horizon Technologies, especially not during what should have been a routine quarterly review. My name is James Collier, and for 3 years I'd been the marketing director at what most would consider a dream company: flexible hours, competitive pay, and a culture that supposedly valued authenticity above all else. Our CEO, Victoria Hayes, had built the company's reputation on transparency and genuine connection. The irony wasn't lost on me as her question pierced through my professional facade. Yes, I'm technically single, I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. But there's more to it than that. The conference room seemed to shrink around me. Victoria smiled, clearly not expecting what was coming. Well, that's good news for Diane in operations, then. She's been asking about you. I took a deep breath. I'm single because I lost my fiancée 8 months ago. Cancer. We'd been together since college. The room grew impossibly quieter. Victoria's smile vanished as understanding dawned on her face. This wasn't the playful workplace matchmaking moment she'd anticipated. She had unwittingly stepped into the raw, unhealed wound I carried beneath my pressed shirt and practiced smiles every day. I'm so sorry, James. I had no idea, she stammered, her confident CEO persona cracking. What followed wasn't just awkward, it was a masterclass in how personal and professional boundaries should never be crossed. Victoria tried to backpedal, then overcompensated with sympathy, then attempted to return to business as if nothing had happened. The meeting dissolved into uncomfortable glances and half-finished sentences. Walking back to my office afterward, I felt the familiar hollowness expand in my chest. Sarah had been my world for 9 years before leukemia took her in a brutal 6-month battle. I'd returned to work after just 2 weeks of bereavement leave, throwing myself into projects, becoming the office workaholic everyone assumed was just ambitious. Nobody knew I stayed late because my apartment felt like a mausoleum of memories. The next morning, an email from Victoria appeared in my inbox. My office, 10 a.m. No pleasantries, no context. My stomach nodded as I considered the possibilities. Was I about to be reprimanded for making her uncomfortable? Worse, was this a prelude to being pushed out for disrupting the company's carefully cultivated positive atmosphere? When I arrived at her office, Victoria wasn't behind her imposing glass desk as usual. Instead, she sat on the small sofa in the corner, looking more human than I'd ever seen her. Without makeup, I could see the faint lines around her eyes, the vulnerability she typically concealed beneath power suits and perfect presentation. James, I want to apologize properly, she began, gesturing for me to sit. What I did yesterday was completely inappropriate. Mixing personal matters with business, especially in front of the entire management team, it was unprofessional and thoughtless. I nodded, uncertain where this was heading. But more than that, Victoria continued, I realize now that I don't really know my team at all. I claim to run a company built on authentic connection, yet I had no idea what you've been going through. Something in her voice made me look closer. Her eyes were rimmed with red, as though she'd been crying. I lost my husband 5 years ago, she said quietly. Car accident. 1 minute planning our anniversary trip, the next identifying his body. She twisted the simple band on her right hand, a wedding ring relocated. I never told anyone here. I moved cities, started fresh, built this company from nothing because working was the only thing that didn't hurt. I sat stunned, seeing my CEO, this woman I'd alternately admired and feared, in an entirely new light. The perfectionism, the occasional hardness, the relentless drive, they weren't just leadership traits. They were survival mechanisms. I buried myself in building horizon, she continued. And somewhere along the way, I started believing my own PR about connection and transparency without actually practicing it. I've encouraged a culture where everyone shares personal details except me. I've asked intrusive questions while keeping my own walls firmly in place. That conversation changed everything, not just between Victoria and me, but throughout Horizon Technologies. Over the following months, Victoria gradually transformed our workplace culture from one that performed authenticity to one that genuinely embraced it. She established a comprehensive bereavement policy, created support groups for employees facing personal challenges, and most importantly, stopped treating vulnerability as something separate from professional life. For me personally, the change was profound. I stopped hiding my grief behind overtime and performance metrics. I joined a support group for young widowers and slowly began dismantling the shrine I'd made of my apartment, keeping what truly mattered of Sarah's memory while allowing myself space to heal. Victoria and I developed an unexpected friendship, not a romance as the rumor mill initially suspected, but something far more valuable. We became each other's reality check, calling out when the other was using work to avoid processing grief. We recognized in each other the same patterns, the same coping mechanisms, the same fear of moving forward. 6 months after that fateful meeting, Victoria asked me another personal question, this time in private. Would you consider leading our new employee wellness initiative? Your perspective would be invaluable. I accepted, and together we built a program that acknowledged employees as whole people with lives beyond their desks. Productivity didn't suffer as the board had feared, it flourished. People who feel truly seen give more of themselves to their work, not less. Today, 3 years later, I can say that the most difficult moment of my professional life became its greatest turning point. I'm now Horizon's Chief People Officer, helping other companies implement similar approaches. Victoria remains CEO, though she's more likely now to be found chatting with new hires than sequestered in her office. She remarried last year to someone who understands that her first love remains part of who she is. And me? I'm not single anymore. I met someone through the grief support group, someone who understands that loving again doesn't erase who came before. Love, like grief, isn't a zero-sum game. There's always room for more if you're brave enough to make space for it. If there's anything I've learned from this journey, it's that our greatest pain often holds the seed of our most important contribution. The truth I wasn't ready to share became the truth Victoria wasn't ready to hear, but it was exactly the truth we both needed to transform not just ourselves but an entire company culture. So if you're hiding some part of yourself at work, afraid that authenticity might cost you professionally, I hope this story gives you courage. The right people will value your whole self, including the broken parts. They might even find in your brokenness the missing piece they need to heal themselves. If this story touched you or made you think differently about workplace connections, please like and subscribe for more real stories about navigating life's complexities. Remember, sometimes the truth others aren't ready for is exactly the one they need most.